Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Lisa Rudacille. Lisa is the, I forgot your title, Lisa, but you kind of do everything, it seems like, at the school. She works for Warren County Public Schools, and today we're going to talk about kindergarten registration. But what all do you do at the school board? I see you at all these meetings, and it seems like every project's, Lisa's going to tell us about it. Lisa's going to tell us about it, so...
Well, my first and foremost important job is I'm the principal at E. Wilson Morrison Elementary School. So that is a change that I made this year.
I forgot about that. Shane Goodwin was there. That's right.
Yep, exactly. So tough act to follow, but I'm there.
My grandson goes there, and they've graduated him just to get rid of him so that they can move on.
No, never. But then I've also been doing here for the second half of the year some of what I used to do as the director of elementary instruction.
Right.
I'm covering some of those things.
Right.
So.
Well, what she's really doing is she's drumming up customers for E. Wilson Morrison because
100%.
Kindergarten starts next year, and this is the time of year that you pre-register. Is that right?
Correct.
To kind of get ready, make sure you do the testing, and tell us all what's involved in this registration.
Okay, so next week, starting April 4th, then the schools are open to accept registrations for kindergarten for the coming school year. We open this time up just as sort of as a beginning time and a time when we anticipate that families will come in and we get a sense of how many kindergartners we have coming to us next year. There is an online registration form, so it is not required that you come in person to fill out that part, but we make sure that all families have access to that. They can come into the school and we will assist them. If they have internet difficulties, we'll assist them in getting all of that filled out on devices that we'll provide during that time.
Right. So
we also have an evening time to make sure that we're accommodating families who can't get there during the school day. That is on Wednesday the 6th from 4:30 to 6:30. So hopefully that gives families a time that suits their schedules. But if that week does not suit family schedules, like I said, this is sort of the beginning time. So, come in and during the school day to your child's home school and begin that registration process. Even if you don't have all of the paperwork that it requires to officially and completely register a kindergartner, it helps us know how many children we're looking at to make sure that we're staffed appropriately and ready for the number of children we have coming to us.
It's always good, even if you don't have all the immunizations and everything done. Don't wait till the last minute.
Exactly.
And this way here, you start a little early, and you just show up and kind of like, hey, my kid's ready. And trust me, mothers are ready for this. Most of them.
Yes, they are.
Most of them are ready for this. I remember my wife was going to homeschool our youngest daughter in kindergarten. So she got all the stuff, and she tried. And she did it the first week because Michelle was born in December, so she was one of those,
to
go either way, year-wise. So she said, no, I think I'm just going to let her sit home for another year because kindergarten is not all what it's cracked up to be.
No, kindergarten is not what you and I would think about kindergarten for sure. There was a day when kindergarten was about learning to share and take turns, and you did a lot of play.
Now they're doing algebra and physics again.
It feels like that. It feels like that. So while all of those things we're still teaching students, it is very much where kids learn the basis for reading in particular and number sense so that they can hit first grade. We already expect what we teach in kindergarten is important, and
that's
you
a foundation.
See this. Yes.
That's what we say about our personalities. They're formed by the time we reach kindergarten, and this is the time where you put that last little tweak on them and hope we don't make them too liberal. But other than that, but no, seriously, this reading foundation is so critical.
Yes.
And the ones that we just got to make sure, because if you can read, you can learn all these other things.
Yeah.
And we
certainly much easier.
Much
for sure.
easier. And I keep telling people, I said, think about these students that come from other countries that really don't speak English, and they come here and graduate from college with a doctorate degree, and they've learned the language, they've done all that because they have that reading skill, and they've learned that.
Yes.
And it's great. So I think it's an important step, and I think we just got to make sure that this elementary education is really the critical step for future.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
We hear about kids graduating from high school and can't read. And once you can't read, you just keep going through the system.
It closes a lot of doors.
It's hard to go back and catch that up. And so we need to stress that.
Definitely. So for families that have children entering kindergarten next year, it is important that they know things like how to take turns and how to sit for a period of time. And by that, I mean 15 minutes, that they could sit and engage in an activity for 15 minutes.
Give them a video game, and they're there for 2 hours. But,
oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I know. But, again, prioritizing their attention, I think, is what and how to get along with their fellow people.
Yes.
And you learn that at a young age.
You do. You very much do. Reading to children every day is very important. Your kids, many of our students come in knowing the ABC song.
Sure.
Being the next step then is identifying, letters and the sounds that they make.
It's amazing how one day these little people can't read. And literally, the next day, they're reading.
It's amazing.
Literally like one day. I mean, it seems to me anyway, it happens, all that preparation, and then the brain clicks, and then they're doing it.
Yes, and teachers live for that light bulb moment is kind of what we call it.
Wow,
Yes.
It is amazing. Because we can't remember how we learned to read. I mean, we just always have read.
Yes, exactly.
We forget that stage at a young age. How did we do that?
Teaching a child to read is definitely rocket science. I mean, it is
another thing is
and
like learning a language. We learn our English. We say we speak English. By the time they get to school, we didn't teach them English. They learned that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, tell people, think about all these little Chinese kids that learn Chinese. By the time they're, same thing, regardless of the language. So we learn those skills that really without the formal education. So it's important then to learn how it works and why we use things and how we do. And it all starts really at the beginning in kindergarten.
It sure does.
How about some sort of parents feel like their kid has maybe a learning disability or, my kid's dyslexic, I notice I've heard at the meetings of all this special education that I didn't realize we had so much of this, and it all starts at these young, actually pre-kindergarten.
Yes, at the age of 2, we actually have some students that we're servicing that are even younger than that. So, but 2 to 22. Now, please don't quote me on that.
Right.
I am not Mr. Hirsch, but
I hear him talk about that, and I'm amazed that the school is involved in these special education, and that's part of this process is to identify maybe special needs, and that's what you do at these orientations as well, or you talk to parents and you kind of get the feel and
talking to parents is huge, and getting an understanding of the child has been with them, all of this time. We're just getting to know their child.
Right.
So any information you can provide to let us know the struggles even that families have seen prior to, a child coming to school.
Right.
Telling us about those are hugely important because we can jump in with some resources and determine the needs of the child.
Right.
Now, being identified as a student with special needs is usually much further down the line.
Right.
Some kids, it's just they haven't been exposed to a number of things that they're now learning in kindergarten.
Right.
Kids need a chance to let's get in and let's get acclimated to school.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and that's part of the process. Years ago, I don't think we put as much emphasis on identifying special needs, and it seems like now that we're more aware of it and realizing that this is causing us a problem down the road, and we're going to identify it much sooner. And money's been put aside, and resources it's a whole industry almost. It's a teaching specialty almost.
It is most definitely a teaching specialty. We have educators in our buildings who are specialized to serve our students with disabilities.
It takes a special person to do
It sure
that.
does.
So I know some.
I would argue that it takes a special person to work with. Okay, I would argue that it takes a special person to work with humans in general.
Trust me, yes, I know how that is. But teachers are, get the bad stick.
Yes, and every teacher, and I have been fortunate to work with teachers at all grade levels, pre-K through high school, and I've never met a teacher whose interest is not children and making sure children are getting the best education they possibly can. So it is disheartening sometimes when, you see teachers working so hard to do their best and people that love children.
Right.
So it's tough when we get a bad rap here and there.
I know several people that have gone through the education process, say, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a teacher, and they get into that student teaching phase, and they come out and they says, it's not for me.
Yeah, which, thank goodness. Thank goodness they figured that out.
They figured that out. And, but then others say, wow, I need more, and so people have to have a special, dispensation, I guess, to do that, and they love it. And people do it because they love it. And they always say, well, we got to make more money, and we have to pay fair. But truthfully, people never leave a job because of the money. That's never the first thing. No. There's the bureaucracy, the aggravation, and really not getting the support and the feedback from their upper management really is probably the main reason why any job, and especially teachers, because we got 800 teachers in the county, or it seems like 800, or something like
800
that.
Professionals, I think, and maybe 600 licensed.
Right.
But, so we have instructional assistants who work as hard as any teacher I know.
Right.
So I think it's 800 when you include that particular
That's still
group.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
So it's a huge budget. Well, we know about that budget, how this is the time of the year. But it is. It's a big operation.
Yes.
And there's a lot of pieces that move to make it work. And this is the beginning step.
Yes.
So to get your child ready to life, get them ready for life.
Yes.
We need to learn and spend time with your children reading. I notice our kids love to read because we read to them. And I think that's what it is.
Reading to them, having them count things, just as you're driving in the car, count how many let's count how many trees we see, or, just those little things are so important.
When I stuck my son in the corner, he counted all the little dots in the in the ceiling tile. I don't know whether, but so they do. They love it. They just love to learn, and I think that's a great thing. And still today, they're 40-some years old, and they like to read.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's something that you can do. Another little tidbit of useless information. We couldn't read without that little voice in our head. Did you realize that?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, I mean, when you read to yourself, you hear yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Without that voice, we couldn't read. That's what I hear anyway. But it's just another useless information.
I do not think that's useless at all.
So when you hear that voice in your head, that's a good thing.
Yes. Yes, usually.
Anything special coming up that you can think of between now and when does school start? You're going to tell me that? It's like August.
It is August.
It's like the day after vacation, it seems like,
You didn't tell me you would quiz me on those things. It's the beginning of August.
It's going to change because, it's how many days and things and it fluctuates a little bit until like the day it happens, But
it does.
It's about the middle of August or something like that.
No, early August.
Oh, we're going to start soon?
We're early August, yes.
Well, the whole idea we switched because we want to have the semester in before Christmas,
Before Christmas, yes.
And I think that's a good thing. I always think you come back for 2 weeks after you're off for 2 weeks, and like the next week you're doing your finals and your testing, and that's the end of the period. I thought,
yes,
duh. I mean,
yes. But so please, many families, and this has happened. I've been in education. This is my 30th year, and this happens every year. Some families just assume we start after Labor Day.
Right.
So,
well, that's kind of a state law, so to speak.
Yeah. So and we do not. So the earlier you come in to register your children, the better that is.
Yeah.
And I think in years past, maybe not as recent, not recently, but families sometimes think, well, it's just kindergarten.
Right.
You know, it is, and it's not. I mean, kindergarten is, like you said, the foundation. It is very important, and we want to set kids up for success as early as we possibly can.
Well, I've met a lot of these kindergarten teachers and aides, and I was over at LFK not too long ago, and it just amazes. I mean, that they have a team teaching process, I guess you call it. But I've never seen anyone, they all were excited, very, they were just excited to have those kids there.
Yes.
And this is towards the end of the year, and they're still excited to have kids there. So, they love it. They love what they're doing.
And we're all, I think, even more excited to have children in front of us this year because we've spent so much time having so many of them not in front of us. It's great to have them.
So I suggest to parents, quit putting the video and, limit your screen time and put a book in their hand, because even if they pretend to read, they're at a young age. I always they'll
flipping
do that.
the pages.
They'll flip the page, and you know what? They'll
tell a story.
They'll tell that story. I always thought that was almost verbatim, because if you read it to them, they've memorized that.
Oh yes.
And they'll know it. I can remember doing something and pointing. That's not it. That's not it, because they know.
Yes, definitely.
What it is. They learn. They're like sponges, and that's the time we want to expose them to this when they're young and do it. Trust me, little kids can learn.
Oh, they learn at an exponentially faster rate than, when you think about where they begin and all of the information they take in and the, period of kindergarten through second grade is just, kids
amazing.
The rate at which they take stuff in is just incredible.
We're going to list all these dates and times below the video here, so we want you to, if you have a kindergarten age, please get on there and come on in and take an early registration. Even if you have kids that are older, read to them or make sure they're doing their homework.
Yes.
And just
it's helping to make them successful.
Yeah. The school is not responsible for teaching your children in a way. It's really the parents' responsibility to make sure their kids are educated. That's part of parental responsibilities. The school just gives you the tools to do it, I think. Helps you along the way.
It is certainly our responsibility, but it sure makes it a heck of a lot easier with family support.
It's a partnership.
It is, yes, 100%.
People say,
100%.
well, they go to school to learn that. Well, they learn things at home more than you're only at school a few hours a day, and you're at home a lot more time. So we want to make sure that parents are involved. Of course, people are watching this say, but it's true.
It is.
And it's hard. I mean, we have a lot of what they call latchkey kids now, and two parents are working. We have single parents. We have grandparents raising kids. We're in a different dilemma. This is not the 50s anymore.
No, it is
like
not.
I'll say when we grew up,
different.
but when we were going to kindergarten, actually, I would say that's a long time ago. But yeah, you're right, and it's a different time, and I think kids are exposed to more, and reading is so important. And I can remember when my kids graduated, left kindergarten, they could read.
Yes.
And I think that's so important.
And that's definitely our goal, that children leave kindergarten reading.
Reading, and I think that's important to do that. So this is the beginning. If you have an age child that's going to, what's the ages for kindergarten?
They must have turned 5 by September 30th.
Okay.
And it's hard for people. My child's birthday is October 1st. Those are Virginia guidelines.
Right,
that's state code that they must have turned 5 by September 30th.
That's okay. Well, that's part of that social things too.
Yes.
Trust me, one more year at home is
not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, especially you can start exposing because their brains are working.
Yes.
And they don't know they were born on October 1st, so they're ready to learn, So keep them busy and, let them be kids one more year is okay.
Yes.
But get them into kindergarten.
We would appreciate it. The more quickly you can get to us, the better it is.
The better everything works for everyone.
Yes.
Lisa, thanks so much for coming in. Again, I'll get all this information posted below the video. Please get registered. There's several articles we have on the Royal Examiner about the kindergarten registration, and it's an important work that our school is doing. And let's hold them to the fire. So make sure they teach your kid to read.
There you go.
And they will. I appreciate it. Again, thanks so much, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Thank you.